Yeah. You gotta work. You gotta work, grind, shine, it's mine. Gotta show everybody it's my time. Getting here, you gotta work, grind, shine. Never mind who talking down, cause they lying. Don't talk, you gotta work.
Welcome to Let's Talk with Carl Lee and frequent guest hosts Hollis Lewis and Lisa Odie, where sports, culture, and community intersect. Join the crew as they dive into engaging conversations with guests from all walks of the sports life. Let's Talk is proudly presented by attorney Frank Walker. Real talk, real experience, real results. FrankWalkerLaw.com. And by the all-new historic Coyer Diner in downtown Charleston. Online at CoyerDiner.com. Let the conversation begin on Let's Talk.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Carl Lee with Let's Talk, and I have my co-host Hollis Lewis in the building. And I think we have had this guest in once before, Coach Pennington from West Virginia State University, and what I think you said in your 9th year at West Virginia State.
Yes, sir.
So one of the interesting things that, before we get into the whole football realm, one of the things that is interesting to me, had coached at West Virginia State, is the craziness that comes around with homecoming. You know, for whatever the reason, it seems like that becomes the biggest thing on campus. And I know that it's a struggle sometimes to go through that week of homecoming and coach and get your kids out. Tell us a little bit about homecoming. Tell us a little bit about how you are handling that, and we'll kind of go a little bit more football as we go through this.
Yeah, you know, there's you can feel, I can feel the homecoming in the air. You know, like it's the biggest thing of the year. You know, I mean, maybe there's something bigger, but to me, it's definitely the biggest. You know, you can feel it on campus. You know, so it's a big deal. I mean, obviously, I'm here tonight. I got another radio show later in the week, so a little bit more, press. But I mean, I think that's why why you play college football, why you coach college football, to have that kind of atmosphere. You know, and that's what we talk to the players about. It's what I was even talking to the coaches about. Like, this is exactly what you want to do. And then, you get like a lot of my former players will be coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Being there for 9 years, there's a lot of guys. So there's going to be a lot of guys coming back. And for me personally, like I love being at West Virginia State. I've been there, over a decade of my life. I've been a Yellow Jacket. So like I went to your camp when I was a kid. That was the first football camp I ever went to. It's where I really fell in love with the game. So like, for me personally, it's a big deal. Like, this is my home. This is my community. Like, I feel the personal pressure on myself, so then you got everybody else, I get, calls, text messages from former players and anyone involved with West Virginia State. They know that homecoming's coming up. So there's extra stuff to do, but like, it's more press for our team. It's more press for our school. It's building connections for our players, for our football program, for West Virginia State. So it's an opportunity, it's a great opportunity for us to grow the program, build connections, and just, continue to build West Virginia State.
And I know, Hollis, I know you've got a bunch of questions, but I want to follow up with what you said, because like the guys that I have coached and had coached, a lot of the guys that I coached at West Virginia State, when we chit chat on the phone, it's interesting to me how comfortable they are saying like, hey, I talked to coach, I gave him a call, or I sent him a text message and all that kind of stuff. And I want to say that to appreciate that, I want to make sure that that those guys truly, truly love the idea of how they're treated from you, by you, and to them, it's like you are their coach. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're coaching at their school, and they have this appreciation for how you have treated them. And for that, my hat's off to you, man.
Well, you helped me out a lot with that this summer. I called you looking for some advice. But I mean, it's like I said, it means a lot to me, personally. And I know it means a lot to the school. And I think, I always tell our staff, the bandwagon's always open, that door is never locked. I don't, if they jump off because we lose a game, that's fine. But like, we want them on that, we want them on the bandwagon. We want as many people involved with Yellow Jacket Nation and just building our program. And I appreciate you saying that. It means a lot to me. I've definitely put a lot more effort into it and just trying to, get everybody back involved.
Now,
to build on that, John and I, we play high school football together, and I think from Coach Edwards, we come from a tradition of carrying on tradition. At GW, it was a really, really big thing to connect with former players and to acknowledge things that happened throughout the history and make you realize that you are part of a lineage of things. You're not just playing in the now. So I can understand like kind of why you think that way. Just in as a broader question, when we look at college football and sort of the landscape changing, with transfers and NIL and, the different methodologies of recruiting and different things of that nature, homecoming is that tradition. You took your sons to the WVU Pitt game that's part of that tradition. What are some of the things that you tell your players about, being part of a lineage and carrying on tradition?
I had a meeting with our leadership group right before I came over here. We meet every Monday, and I just talked to them about, we have 57 new players, so wow. And that's the landscape of college football. And I'd message you on Saturday, I want to make sure that everyone in our program understands how big this is, how important it is, and not only that, I talked to them about, take some time to find a new player and just tell them something positive about your experience at West Virginia State. Like they've only been here a couple weeks. They don't know how important this is to you guys and to me and the guys that have been here for years. And so that was something that I wanted to do, is make sure our leaders spread the word to the new guys about just how special it is to play college football at West Virginia State. We have a great program. We have incredible support. We have it's a great school, great tradition, and these guys have a chance to grow not only as players but as men. So there's a slogan, it starts at state, and that's from years back, but I've always used that because I think something really special can start here, for the players and for the coaches, and I really want them to see that they're going to look back on this and really see how they grew as men and how this was a big part of an influential part of their lives and a positive part of their lives.
And to that, for me, in the 10 years I think that I was coaching, I can, regardless of wins and losses, the young men that I got a chance to touch and I'll say maybe guide into doing some of the right things compared to where they were when I first got there, that impact is something that never leaves you. And when you see those guys that, you coached in your first year, guys that I had coached in my first year, guys who I can remember some guys that they were getting ready to put out of school that, I'm fighting for them and saying, I got them. Just trust me, let me have them and they'll be fine. One of those guys are now a teacher, and there is nothing greater than that kind of belief in a relationship that you can have with a player from a coach. Absolutely. I don't know if there's anything any greater than that.
Well, and it's inspiring, right? People get burnt out not because of what they do, but they forget why they do it. And so for me, it's I told our leaders this tonight. I was like, for me this week, you're not. I'm going to do extra work. I don't care if I sleep. I don't care if I eat because I've had incredible support. Two guys sitting in this room that have supported me, since I came up in the coaching ranks and since I've been at West Virginia State. And, I've told them, think about all the people that have supported you to get to where you're at. And so the community is always behind us. Obviously Yellow Jacket Nation is, but just the whole Kanawha Valley. So for me, it's about, just thinking about, remembering why I'm doing it. Not only, to win football games, but you're having a huge impact. And then those old players come back in homecoming. I'm thinking about some of the guys I'm going to see and knowing okay, I've got it. We have got to have a great plan. We've got to be ready to play. I want to make sure they're proud of, the program and what we put out on the field. So, like I said, for me personally, it means a lot.
Now, over the first, so this is game 4, homecoming, playing Fairmont. But I'm going to take a look back at the past couple weeks. So we played 3 games so far. We're 2-1. First game, we took a loss to Carson Newman at Carson Newman, bounced back at Barton, home win, had 2 pick six to close the game, and then we had our first offensive explosion playing Wesleyan at Wesleyan. So over those past 3 games, kind of what are you seeing that you like offensively, defensively? What are you seeing that we need to improve on moving into this game?
Well, number one, I love the way we play. Like, I mean, they play hard, they're physical, they're athletic, they play together as a team. You know, like our defense has been incredible in the red zone, which they don't. It tells you they play every play like it's the life of its own. So like they bend, but they haven't broken. I think the biggest thing, you know, is like we had a bye week, and then we had West Virginia Wesleyan that we knew wasn't, you know, they're not one of the better teams in the conference. You can watch it on film, and so the biggest thing for us was to make sure we made the improvements that we, messed up the first 2 weeks in non-conference play. And offensively, we didn't throw the ball well. We didn't have explosives. Last Saturday, we made those big plays. We hit the ball down the field. We threw the ball over 300 yards. And defensively, we had a lot of busts in the first 2 games, just missed assignments. I don't know if we had maybe 1 or 2 missed assignments on Saturday against Wesleyan. So I think, I love the run game with the offense. Like the O-line is, we got a lot of starters back, so they're dominant up front. And I love, the aggressiveness of our defense. Like, and the biggest thing is that they're great in the red zone, and we've been good on third down. We've been good in the red zone. So winning the stats that matter. And I think we just got a tough team. Like I don't. We can throw it, we can run it, we can stop the run, we can get after you blitzing. Like, we're not dominating any statistic, but we're winning the stats that matter, and we're making the improvements from the mistakes, that we made the first 2 weeks. And that's bye week, you can get a little lackadaisical. It's
right.
I thought our coaching staff did a great job of giving them some rest, but also applying pressure to get better. And I think our whole team knew that we had to get better.
Now, when you have 57 new players, and again, this is not unique to West Virginia State. Coaches are dealing with this all over the country. I think there's one stat where WVU had like 70-plus new guys.
Yeah.
So from that standpoint, although these guys do have some collegiate experience, sort of offensively, defensively, special teams, what are the points that are kind of easy to coach up, and what are some of the points that are more difficult to coach up to get that sort of continuity between the players?
And Coach, before you answer that, I'm going to add to that a little bit.
I got you.
Like to his point, not just specific position, but all of a sudden you run this offense and you run this defense compared to somebody coming in, and now all of a sudden you've got to find a position for them or teach them something totally different. How is all those things with what he's already talked about? How does that happen?
Well, the language is the hardest thing, really. I mean, there's cover 3 is cover 3,
right?
But some people call it 6 when you roll weak and 3 buzz when it's strong. I mean, there's just rip Liz for different. Means
right, left,
man coverage. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's like match coverage.
Yeah.
So like, there's just different names, but it really is. A lot of it's very similar. So I think that's the first thing, is making sure they understand, like, this is what we call this formation. This is what we call, this coverage, this route concept. And then on top of that, the techniques, because there's different ways to play, different ways to block inside zone. There's different ways to run, certain stunts. So not only do you have to teach them the language, now you got to teach them the techniques that go with the way that we do it, West Virginia State. So that does take some time. I think the biggest thing, the hardest thing is just the standards in your culture. Like, we have you have to run off the football field at West Virginia State. Since I've been coaching there, like, you do not walk on the field. So like little things like that, making sure their toe is behind the line, maybe some other coaches they had in the past didn't harp on some of those details. There's, that's maybe the harder thing to teach, is that they have some habits that, not necessarily their fault. They're just not used to, like, what my pet peeves are, what the guys that have been in the program understand. This is what Coach Penn expects. This is what Coach Jackson expects. So those things are a little harder to teach as well, because it's just not as common for them.
It's funny that you use one that in youth football, running back to the huddle, running on and off the field. Why do you think that is? Like, to me, I think that's so important, even though it's not necessarily part of the game, but it's been instilled in you forever.
Yeah.
Can you remember, can you go back and try to figure out, like, where you were and what grade you were in or what level you were playing at, that somebody said that to you and you were like, oh, if I ever coach, we're going to do this.
I can't. I just know, there's some things that you just pick up, that you just do that your coaches did to you.
Yeah.
And that's definitely one of them. I still run on and off the field. I don't, I feel weird if I'm walking on the field. So, no, I can't remember it, but it is, I think when there's little details, 5 minutes early for the meeting, hats off for the meeting. Like, I know I was reading about like Michael Strahan and Tom Coughlin they butted heads a lot about that 5 minute early to the meeting thing. And, it helps like when you have like a rule that maybe some guys don't agree with, because then the leaders come in and they're like, well, we do that because details matter.
Right.
Or you're like, why do we have to run on off the field? What does that have to do? And it's like, well, because details matter, or effort matters. Like we do things harder, we do things harder than anyone else here. So it reinforces your culture by, how the leaders talk about why you do some of those little things that maybe a new guy doesn't understand.
See, and I'm a hat guy. And I as soon as I got there, I knew this was going to impact me. No hats on in the building.
Yeah.
Whether it's the cafeteria, no matter where you are, if I see you with a hat on in a building, you're running.
Yeah.
And the kids, I don't know if they really, I shouldn't say kids, the young men, I don't know if they really understood exactly why that was something that was super important. But I bet you they still remember that and probably go by it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's ingrained.
Coach Lee time. That was the thing.
Yeah, Coach Lee time.
Now, like I said, in this world, I asked you kind of about players that you gain. We've also lost some players. Joel Filler, who I actually talked to today. Yeah. Believe it or not, Donnie. He was a legendary quarterback at West Virginia State University, and we have actually I watched him play. Barton, and I seen the stats as far as Wesleyan, our quarterback now. He looks pretty good. He can run the ball. He got some pop to that ball as far as velocity coming off his hand. So talk a little bit about him and how he's developing within the program.
Well, I mean, he was elected a captain.
What's his name?
Caleb Jackson.
Okay.
Yeah, Caleb's he's a captain. He's got great energy. At every practice, he's locked in. I mean, he's got all the quarterback things that you want. Takes notes in every meeting. He's always where he wants, where you need him to be. An incredible athlete, that knows how to play the quarterback position. I think when you get those two things combined, they can make a coordinator look good sometimes. It's 3rd and 12 and your concept is terrible and he just scrambles for 13 yards. But, he adds an element in the run game that you have to be aware of him. He had some good runs. He's had some good runs in every game. And I've never seen anyone with zip on the ball.
Yeah, it comes off.
I mean, it comes off.
And it's very catchable, too, from what I noticed. It comes off, but it's not like overtly hard and difficult to catch.
The ball speeds up on its way to you. Yeah. I catch a lot of quarterback passes and I've caught a lot in my day, but my thumbs and index fingers are in a lot of pain this year from him. I mean, he can spin it. The biggest thing for Caleb, he's just got to work on, being able to drop back pass. That's the biggest thing, that we've emphasized with him. Like we can get him out of the pocket and he does great things and he's quick game. He can throw the ball wherever he needs to. Just seeing the field. He's not a tall guy, so just seeing the field and having vision in the drop back game because he hadn't been a starter at the college level. So that was a big thing we wanted to see out of him against Wesleyan, and he was on fire on Saturday.
Yeah, and I think sometimes if you don't have that experience, your eyes can shift down, it can shift up, be all over the place, and it can cause you to lose sight of the field. Now, I want to ask you about because you played under Rich Rod.
Yeah.
So he's back. I mentioned earlier you went to the Pitt game with your son. So kind of what do you think? I know you probably haven't got a chance to watch a whole bunch.
Yeah.
But kind of what's your sentiments? What are you thinking about that?
I mean, watching that game, I thought Pitt was the much better team, just personnel-wise. Like, I just, it's what I do as a coach. I'm looking out there, and I know we had a lead, and I'm thinking, man, I want this game to go well. It's my son's really first game, either of them, first real WVU game, and I'm just hoping it goes well. And you can see on the field, even with a lead, like, man, Pitt's better than us, like the personnel. We just don't have great players compared to maybe the upper echelon of the conference and that level. So just watching them grind out a win, an ugly Rich Rod win, I loved it. I mean, I ate it up. I mean, you could just see, I knew they were probably not going to win against Kansas on the road after that, but they don't have great players right now.
And I thought the emotion, like I said, when you lose to Ohio, then you get all the way up for Pitt, and then you got to go to Kansas. It's sort of a flat line. Nobody's really excited. There's no history, no tradition there. So, like, in a week like this where, sort of the outwardly emotions are high from everybody else, how do you manage those emotions just kind of within your locker room?
Man, that's a tough one. I'm always trying to get a temperature of the locker room. Not the actual temperature, but like, are they too high? Are they too low? And my job is to figure out what that temperature is and bring it down. If I have to, or raise it up if I have to. And last week we played Wesleyan, so off a bye week, and like I said, they were you could watch the film and you could easily look at it and be like, we're going to kill these guys. Mm-hmm. And if we went up there with that mentality, we probably wouldn't have played very well. And so I built a chip on their shoulder and, kind of turned the temperature up, got under their skin and made sure that they, I got them hot, So I think this week I don't have to do that. It's homecoming. It'll be the opposite. Like I'm going to have to turn the AC on a lot. And so I talked to our staff about that all week, last week with Wesleyan, how we're going to have to fire them up. And we had some fights in practice. I mean, it was, we got them going and then we brought them back down right before the end of the week. And then this week it'll be, probably the opposite. I'm going to have to calm them down constantly. No rah-rah speeches before that game. It might come out a little bit just because I'm going to be passionate about the game, but, it's going to be more about keeping them calm, on Saturday. So I think as a head coach, you got to know the temperature of the room, and then you got to be the thermostat and bring it down to get it to a nice 72 or wherever you need it to be.
But doesn't the whole campus get a temperature? That whole campus, that temperature rises up, and there's like this absolute expectation of winning.
Yeah,
like you can win one game, and as long as it's homecoming, you got a shot.
Yeah.
Okay, we can appreciate you. All the alumni who come back. This game matters. They're not checking on what the record was. They're not looking who's on the schedule. That's a lot of pressure on just one game.
Yeah, but that's what you want. That's why you play college football. It's the I wouldn't want to be at a school that didn't care if we won or lost. Hey, just make sure you have enough people on the roster. Like I wouldn't want to be there. Like I put enough pressure on myself that's going to be more than anyone could put on me. But I think that that's what you're looking for, and I know our players are looking for that. So we're welcoming it. I think it's an opportunity. But and what you said about me taking my sons, it wasn't homecoming at WVU, but for me it was the only chance. And my boys are 13 and 8 or 10, so like they haven't been to a WVU game, so it was like my one chance. And it's probably going to be somebody is probably taking their kids to that game that played at West Virginia State, and it might be their one shot to get their kid to like really appreciate West Virginia State football. So like hopefully we play a good game so they can have that, like, because I had an incredible experience, like one of the best days of my life. My kids get to see the backyard brawl, and we grind out an overtime victory. I mean, you can't draw it up any better.
That's good. That's movie stuff right there.
So hopefully we someone that comes to this game brings their kids and wants to show them what their dad, how proud he is of being in West Virginia State Yellow Jacket and how important it is. And then the kid we win and the kid loves it, and it's a big homecoming win. So somebody's, going to have that, hopefully that same experience, or, it's my job to provide it.
Yeah. Cause I know homecoming last year, you hung out a little bit at the tailgates. Yeah. You'll come through, Coach Pennington, they'll come through after the game. And I think those sort of things are so important, for the community and the people who are, the supporters of West Virginia State University, to kind of see you in that element, as well as, coaching the game, man. So anything else you got going on? Anything else you want to tell us? Anything else you got just you want to let people know about?
I mean, right now, all I can think about is 1:30 on Saturday.
There you go. There you go.
I got my kids got some games this week. Middle school football and soccer and stuff like that. But it's right now, I'm just locked in on like you said, there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of people that want to see us do well, and I want to make sure that we've got every single nook and cranny covered and I's dotted, T's crossed. Like. I want to make sure that West Virginia State is proud of what we put out there.
Okay, so tell us when is the game, everything like that.
It's 1:30 Saturday kickoff. Obviously at Lake and Field, West Virginia State. Get there early. It's going to be, and if you're an alumni, like, don't tailgate too long.
Tailgate starts early, guys.
I'd love to see you there for kickoff. Like, it means a lot to our players. I mean, the tailgate isn't going anywhere. I always go after, it's one of my favorite things to do is walk the tailgate after a homecoming win. It's, I love doing it. And so, the tailgate will still be there. I promise. I'm always there after. So, come in, cheer us on. Like, let's get a home field advantage. Like, this is a big game. Fairmont's really good. Both both of us are trying to climb our way to the top of the conference. Like, we're going to need all the fan support. So just get in there, like, cheer on the guys. I mean, our players are going to play hard, for all the West Virginia State alumni.
Nice.
Well, I'm hoping also to try to make it. Youth sports is killing me, but I'm going to try to make it. And Coach, we wish you luck, and we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate you guys.
All right, cats and kittens, have you heard? The Quarrier Diner is back. Step into the classic vibe of one of Charleston's most historic restaurants. Don't miss the daily Blue Plate specials. Breakfast served all day, every day, and free parking. With an outdoor patio covered for the summer, an elegant basement bar, and customizable event space, 1022 Quarrier Street offers an experience unlike any other. Open 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Visit QuarrierDiner.com for all the need to know and relive the good times at the Quarrier Diner.
Let's face it, bad things happen to good people. Seriously injured in a car accident, trucking accident, or even wrongfully arrested. Life happens, and when it happens to you, you will need sound legal advice and aggressive representation. That's when you call attorney Frank Walker at 304-413-0179. That's 304-413-0179. Lock it in your phone, text it to a friend. 304-413-0179. Or visit online at attorneyfrankwalker.com.
Let's Talk with Carl Lee is presented by attorney Frank Walker and the all-new historic Quarrier Diner. Come in on episodes, ask the crew questions, or suggest topics on our Facebook page. Search for Let's Talk with Carl Lee, and remember to like the page to become part of the conversation. Subscribe by searching Let's Talk with Carl Lee on your favorite podcast service, and tune in Thursday evenings at 7 or Sunday nights at 8 for Let's Talk with Carl Lee. This is Let's Talk with Carl Lee. Now, back to the conversation.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Hollis, before we go any further, and I actually had forgot that Coach had been on once before.
Yeah.
One of the things that I truly love about him is, like, he is so matter of fact about what he's doing, how he's doing it, what everybody else is supposed to be doing. And I think that quote organization, that standard, I think he presents that to everybody. And I just don't know how players and coaches, other coaches, can't get it.
Yeah, he's Pennington is a systems guy. So he sets up things in a manner in which, it sort of works as almost like a machinery, almost like an assembly line, where it can sort of work on its own. And he's very, like I said, very organized. He's heavy into leadership, motivational sort of, not just cliche motivational speeches, but motivation in a way that's driven to get the best out of you. So I think he does that to his coaches and his players, and he just has a vision for where he wants to see the program. Off air we were talking about, what would it take to win the conference, get into the national picture. So I think his vision of the program is there. And at a program like State, like you mentioned earlier, where we came from to where we're at now, it's going to be a process. Nothing's easy, right? So I think we're gearing up to see us turn the corner here in the next couple of years.
What is interesting to me about him is there is no he never has ever come across to me like that quote confident coach, but he's so sure of his process, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like he's not saying we're this, we're that. Or the way he describes the process, it's like he knows what the process is. He got it from somewhere, and he's applying it, and it's working. Because, man, I mean, when you look at State today compared to where it was back in the day when I was there, it's 1,000-foot difference, man. Like, I mean, it's a total different situation there, especially with the football. It's support, the fan base, all of that, man. I think that he has grown that program into it being a lovable program for the community and for anybody who ever went to school there.
100%. And I think we talked about it earlier, as far as the face of college just changed, And, these athletic programs are essential to your university.
Yes.
Like, you need athleticism on your university, not only to fill your campus, generally, but to also fill those spots, those dormitories on campus. And, and football is a major key player in that system. And as far as Coach Pennington, he has a very positive attitude. And it's not cocky, it's not arrogant.
It does not come across that way.
I'll phrase it as like unrelenting positivity. So it's not. It's one of them situations when, if negative things or bad things happens, he deal with them, acknowledge them, but it's back to being, having that attitude like we have to move forward and we have to, build this thing up.
All right. With all that being said, I know this is not really a topic that you might really want to deal with, but high school football.
Yeah.
And specifically like teams like South Charleston who have been down for a while.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Do you know? Could you give a game plan of like, how do you get yourself back into the winning category? Like, how do you get the kids to be positive? Is Coach Pennington's way the ideal kind of way of turning a program around like that?
Man, I think it's one of those situations now. If you look at programs like, South Charleston or St. Albans here locally, it takes time. You really, time is your friend, because you're going to have to take time to build those programs, because with the fluidity of how kids moving from school to school, you can't even necessarily look at your middle school programs and say, hey, I have X amount of kids.
Right.
You can't really count on that. Hopefully they come, but you can't count on that. So it's going to take time. And I think what I've always said is that, if I'm coaching at South Charleston or St. Albans or any other school that's, struggling, if I'm the high school coach, I have to make my presence on those middle schools, on that Little League program. It's almost like now it has to be sort of a community effort. I think the days of a high school coach kind of just sitting at the high school, anticipating and waiting for kids to come, those days are kind of over. And I'm not saying that you should be quote unquote recruiting, but you have to make your presence known early on so the kids can get excited. You can share your vision. You can get to know those kids, get to know those families. So hopefully when they come, so when it's their time to come, they actually come to the school and willing to play.
I was going to say, because a lot of times is that impact could be the parent.
Yeah.
The mom or the dad not wanting to put their kid in that situation. They're not winning. They're not very good. We don't want to go there. We don't want to play there. We want to go play somewhere that's winning. I think that is the wrong conversation. I think the lessons that you can learn and the effort that you can put in at a team. If I was going to be going to South Charleston High School from middle school, one, my parents are going to make me go.
Yeah.
Regardless. They don't care about what football's doing or any of that. So if I go with the idea of thinking like, oh, we're not going to win anything. Well, what effort am I going to put in?
I mean, that's actually true.
Yeah. What am I going to do to have an impact? If I'm coming in there saying, okay, well, I know this, I'm going to try to start as a freshman and go out there and I'm going to play.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother thing. And I think if parents can maybe look at the focus of playing and playing hard and playing the best, winning is not a guarantee to make you going to start in high school or go to college or go to the pros. That winning is not going to guarantee that. It's you.
But I also think nobody wants to walk into a situation in which they know they may not be able to win for the next 4 years. And that's just the reality. Parents don't want to sit through that and players don't want to play through that. You want at least the opportunity that you'll be able to win out some games, maybe make the playoffs. I think now, coaching programs who are struggling now, you have to find something to sell, right? So if I'm in a situation, I may not be able to sell you necessarily winning because we haven't done that, right? But I can sell you we're guys are getting stronger. Guys are getting more athletic. Our team has, a 3-point whatever overall GPA. So I have to, similar to Coach Pennington, I have to find the positive if I'm the coach, and I have to sell that. Like, these are the steps we're making, because to your point, you could be doing a lot of good things, and maybe it doesn't reflect in the win and loss column yet. But if I can get the right group of guys and we can continue to improve daily, then, once your kid comes up here, then we can start getting on the winning track. I liken this situation to like Dabo Swinney. He made some comments in the last few weeks, and he's a little bit stuck in the past as far as what he did, because they're losing now, they're struggling now. And, you being a coach in these times, you have to be able to adjust. So, and again, that adjustment may be, it may be some struggles in that adjustment, but you got to find something to sell in the meantime. That's just the reality. I wouldn't want to take my kid to a situation in which, again, there's no improvement and it looks bleak in the future.
I think even some of the programs that are successful right now are struggling to get kids in.
Yeah.
Because you were talking about this before we started recording, Hollis. You were talking about how the popularity of soccer has gotten bigger. I think football as a sport in general is just struggling because of the injuries, because of all these travel leagues with other sports. I think there's just things that are maybe cheaper, that are more fun, that are year-round, that kids are just being drawn to, and it's just harder to find football players.
I mean, and that's a great point, because, you think of a program like, 20, 30 years ago, like a Capitol High program, man, they would have a full varsity, a travel varsity, a JV, and if they had ninth grade at the time, they would have a ninth grade team. Yeah. So even like a school like South Charleston or St. Albans, it may just be a issue of just numbers. Like if I had more to work with, then I would have more to work with. And to your point, soccer and injury and the threat of injury, it's kind of hurt the game overall.
And again, to copy both of you, the hardest thing to me when I look at football and I try to figure out like what's happening with it, I see soccer, I see baseball, I see travel sports, and anything that falls in the window of football is going to lose unless you have parents, a dad, a mom, a kid who is sold on football. Chances of a kid saying, well, I'd rather play travel baseball. I'd rather play travel basketball.
I don't know about that. I think that's the parents. The parents.
Okay, I'll give you that. The parent's going to ultimately be the one who's going to make that decision. I get it that you're saying it's not the kid, but the kid's probably not thinking about playing. He may not want to play.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't have to. My dad. I don't think my dad had ever say, "Are you going to play football?" I wanted to play football.
Yeah, but you grew up watching football, you know what I'm saying? It was part of sort of just the relationship that you guys had. I think now we just got to make it more accessible, if that makes sense. Like, I think we need to start flag football programs earlier. I think we need to, we have to make the game, I'm not saying more friendly. That's not the right word I'm looking for. I'm struggling to find my words. But we have to make the game more accessible. We have to, and at the little league level, we cannot make this as it been. Because I know, again, even for me, my girls, we done with cheerleading. Like, because I don't want to be in that environment. Because it's just a bad, toxic environment. It's always drama. And I'm sure there's drama in every sports. But it just seems to be like that, just drama in that far as in our little league programs. And it's not just here locally. It's all over the country. We see parents getting in fights and fighting the refs at little league games and stuff like that. So I think we have to sort of quell that and just make it where it just doesn't turn people off as much.
Well, and kind of to that point, and I'll say this: if you're at a game, a youth game, and you're yelling out profanity and all of that kind of stuff, and threatening to pull your kid off the field and all of that kind of stuff, the question you should ask yourself, is this okay? How does my son feel?
Yeah.
what are the coaches thinking? What are the people sitting beside me thinking? And who am I being? Like, what am I being?
Yeah, you wrapped in emotions. They ain't think about none of that. and you know what? Another thing, too, to that point, sort of the other side of that, I think when it comes to specifically football at the youth level and at the middle school level, I think we've forgotten about development. You know what
100%.
I mean? Because it becomes about winning in those sports too early. I think because you play so many games in basketball, football, soccer, winning and losing is it's whatever.
Right.
You know, they want to win, obviously, but if you don't. But I think with those sports, the way they're constructed, you know, if you like a sport like baseball, you go from T-ball to coach pitch to kid pitch, and you kind of move up through the ranks. So that way you have development periods within that. Where football is like, okay, we're just going to throw you out here.
Right.
So maybe to even answer my own question I asked earlier, maybe we start with flag. Maybe we have just different levels that we can start to. That way we can focus on development and get the parents in the mind frame that this far as from your kid playing from 5 to 12 or 5 to whatever, 5 to 10 or 5 to 12, whatever it is, this ain't about winning the losses. We are developing this kid so by the time they get in 8th grade, they understand the dynamics, how to play football. They know how to tackle properly, know how to run the ball, they know how to pass the ball. They understand the game. So by the time they get in high school, all that fundamental work is secured, done, and now we can just start working on systems. So I think the mentality of how we are, you know, constructing these football leagues at those tender ages need to change.
I'll tell you one other thing that I see, because I'm on for the second year in a row, we're broadcasting Herbert Hoover football. Mm-hmm. And in this area, Kanawha Putnam County specifically, one of the things I've noticed, there's not as much loyalty to the community, to the school that there used to be, especially like here in Charleston. You might live in South Charleston, but your parents send you to GW, or I want to go play for Coach Carpet Capital, or whatever it may be. Same thing, Winfield, Hurricane, and Putnam County. Some of the schools have a better community base than others. Other schools are much more prone to having that transfer stuff go on. And
good point.
So it's going to be easier for some of those teams to kind of amass a good, talented team, where the rest of them are just going to be who's left, who's there, who maybe can't go to the transfer school like the rest of the kids.
Good point.
Yeah,
and that was my point earlier about coaches ingratiating themselves within the community. You can't just be at the high school no more, just sitting on the throne.
Yep.
You got to be all through that thing.
And I think the transition from coaches at South Charleston, I think, created that absence of someone who could say, hey, I'm here, we're going to do it this way, bring your kids here. I think that that change, I think those kids, as soon as the coach left, I think automatically they started looking around.
Yep.
And if you're a good player, somebody's going to call you.
Yeah, and I think with Donnie Mays, his history at South Charleston, so I think he'll bring that back. Yeah. So I think that but again, it's just going to be time. I think even with Coach Stotts at St. Albans, it's just going to take time to build. And I think now communities, administrations, other parents, they got to be willing to say, hey man, it's going to take a little time to do this. Just changing the coach ain't going to help necessarily.
And I don't think changing your kid, taking your kid somewhere else, I don't think that's. I mean, well, let me ask this question, Hollis. If I've got a talented kid, he's 14, playing football, really pretty good, team's not very good, why are you moving him?
I think it depends, man. Like I said, I'm not going to fault a parent for that because I think it depends on position. I think it depends on schematically what they're able to do with the players that you got. So it really depends on a lot because if you have, if what I'm saying, I don't want to pin, but like if you have a linebacker who's really talented, that's going to be a spot moving forward, college, all that. If he doesn't have a good, defensive line and they're just getting through that's going to affect him. Or if you have a quarterback, you don't have a good offensive line, or you just don't have enough, that can affect you. So I'm not necessarily, I understand your point. as far as just hanging out and sort of dealing with it, but it can affect you depending on the position that you're playing if you hope to play at the next level. It is what it is.
See, and I really don't buy that, only because I think by the time a college scout is going to be looking at you, if they think you have something, they're going to work you out. And if your numbers, if you hit the metrics for them, you got an opportunity.
Yeah, but if you don't have any tape, if your tape look raggedy,
well,
you know what I'm saying?
But the tape is not the team. The tape is you.
But what I'm saying is, like, if you got a safety, you play corner, you got a safety who never follow his darn assignments. Who never follows assignments, then that can put you in a bind.
No.
You know what I mean?
If a scout is not gonna, he's gonna understand whether it's cover 3, cover 4.
I got you.
He's gonna understand that. And I think to that point that you made, I think that's where a lot of parents are, and they're thinking that scout knows who the quarterback threw, where he threw the ball to, how he threw it. Guy drops it, was it on target? Did he get it off on time? That's the scout looking at the quarterback. He don't care that the drop. He gets a sack. Okay, that's fine. What did he do? Did he see it? Did he move? He's gonna. I mean, I think right. and I'm making the point only for the fact that if your kid has talent, there is going to be a college. If your kid is in high school, there is going to be a college that can see that.
Yeah, but if you are playing at a team that's not equipped to maximize your talent, that can ultimately in some way hurt your recruitment.
I'm going to make the case that I maximize my play time.
I understand what you're saying, but it depends on position too. Some positions are codependent. Not necessarily a corner. Like, particularly if I'm just playing man and that's all I got, I'm just locking people up. You know what I'm saying?
I need linemen. I need linemen.
I
need linemen.
And that's my point. Yeah. So imagine you playing a corner. Imagine you playing corner. You playing man for the majority of the game. Your defensive line, your linebackers ain't getting no pressure. That quarterback got all day. You gonna get some passes thrown on you.
Yeah.
Something's going. We're gonna make some plays on you.
But yeah, absolutely. But what they're gonna look at, they're gonna look at my steps, my position, all of those kind of things.
Hopefully they look at that.
That's what they do.
Or they just looking at a stat line.
No, because they don't just look at a stat line.
Hopefully.
They come. Yeah. Here's the thing. If they're coming, okay? If they're coming to a school, because there was zero reason for a scout to come to Marshall. We wasn't winning. There was zero reason to come.
But that's you're a D1 player at that point. That's a little different than high school.
Not in my time.
Not
in my time.
Here's what I'm saying though. In this high, and this is my point. I'm glad you said that, because in this time, in this day and age, when Coach Pennington at West Virginia State University is taking 57 transfers, you notice he didn't say, I got 57 kids out of high school. WVU had almost 80 transfers. They are not taking kids in high school no more.
I get that.
You are not, even if you 3-star, 2-star, those type of, you got to darn near be the 4 or 5 star. So what I'm saying is, like, if my kid's on that bubble, 3 stars, got some talent, got some metrics, but still need some development, and if you're at a high school where you are plain out losing, that development could be lost because you're just trying to pull it together. So I'm saying overall, depending on how your kid is situated, it may be best for him or her, depending on the sport, to go somewhere else where they can seek that development to try to get that offer coming out. Because again, kids now, man, and to your point, any offer is good now. Long as you got one, is good. Yeah. So it ain't about D1, D2 no more. Just find somewhere to go, ball out, and then you can go up later. But in order to get that offer, to get those eyes, you may want to be in a program that's going to be conducive to your skill set.
I'm not sure. I'm going to. So I could have maybe transferred to Furman any of those kind of schools?
We talk high school. It's a different. We talk high school.
Okay, so
High school.
if we in high school, I'm going to make the case that it was obvious to me that nobody was interested in me. I had Virginia Tech was the only school that was the biggest school that recruited me.
That's D1.
And wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Then they tell me to walk on.
Hey, they still interested, bro.
No, I ain't got no dollars.
Okay, but
So-
they still interested.
Not interested enough.
Okay, got you.
So every other school that I had was a West Virginia team. Was a basically a D3 team, with the exception of Marshall.
Yeah.
And that's when Sonny Randall came in. And then he offered me a full ride. I took that. Now, we weren't like we were never good.
But it's different. What I'm saying is like college is different. So the way in which a NFL scout is doing that analysis, like you said, they don't care about all their wins and losses. They're looking at metric steps. They can pinpoint all that sort of thing. I'm saying coming out of high school where it's so cluttered. It's thousands of millions of, I ain't gonna say millions, but it's hundreds of thousands of kids coming out trying to get to a spot potentially.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And if you're at a dogged program where you don't have any stats line or the stats line don't look good compared to your actual talent because you just in a bad spot, I'm saying ultimately that hurts you, and it compounds in a world where a D2 program historically that took all high school kids, a lot of local kids or kids who couldn't find a home, when they're just taking basically all transfer, it might be less than 5-10 high school kids coming in.
Yeah.
Man, that hurts, man.
Now
you got to get to a point where you can shine.
Yeah,
and I think some parents think like it.
To your and I will go with you on the reality of today.
Yeah,
they're finding a transfer. They're finding
They
another
finding a
kid,
transfer.
another kid that played a year or two at
because for
another
them
college.
it's the same money.
Yes,
it ain't
it's
like
the same
they
money.
paying. It's not like they paying more or less. It's the same money.
Which does make it really, really challenging on the high school athletes.
Because it's the same argument they're having. Like people are criticizing Debo Swinney at Clemson, head football coach, because of the comments that he's making in regard to that. Because he's not, or he's failing to adjust with the time. So even Nick Saban was like, bro, either you gotta, you know, you either you gonna do it how it's supposed to be done now, or you're not. You can't live in the past. So I'm saying, again, ultimately in a perfect world, we would want those kids to stay in that community and come up through the ranks and do those things. But I think, to me, in order to accomplish that, the head coach's job is different now. You know, I think you have to get, or you got to strive to get coaches who can manage the day-to-day operations of your football program, or you feel comfortable doing it at times, that's going to allot you the time to get into the community.
Let me is what you're saying here, do you think that the NIL and the changes to the transfer rules that we've made in West Virginia, do you think that it has made high school more like college then?
Yeah, 100% is more like college.
Yeah.
Because again, now it's almost like it's like that. It's like college, but not, because you can't recruit.
Right.
So unlike college, you're not supposed to.
Right.
You can't, legally recruit.
Sure.
So now it's sort of a coach. What you're hoping, like if I'm South Charleston, Polka, St. Albans, Riverside, if I'm those programs, I'm wishing that I could get maybe 5 to 10 kids to come in, right? I can't go out and legally do that, but I'm hoping that I can get 5 or 10 players in that can add to the program and add to the kids that I have. So in lieu of that, if I'm a coach at programs who are similarly situated like that, I have to get into the community. So I got to be at the Little League games. I got to be at the middle school games. I got to get to know the parents. I got to be sort of in the community. You're darn near just a politician now. Because you got to have your face shown. People get comfortable because people may send to their kids, forget wins and losses, I like Coach Lee. I want to send because I like the man that he is, so I'm going to go up there. And they can figure it out. He got the program. Like I said, even selling the program, like, hey, man, we had a bad year. We didn't make the playoffs, but our team got to collect the 3.5 GPA. That's going to sell some parents. Our kids, our average 40 time went from this to this. Our average bench press went from this to this over this period. So you got to find anything you can sell now, sell it to get people to get into that program.
And we can close it out here, but I buy that. I buy that sale. But my fear of the sale is somebody's going to sell the wrong thing.
100%. You know that's what happens.
So somebody's going to sell the wrong thing and without a conscience and bring kids in and end up creating a situation where, you know, who knows what happens to the kid going forward.
Yeah, man, but you got to, I mean, that's obviously you're 100% right. That can't happen. But at the same time, man, you got to do something.
All right. Well, we could do this all day, probably.
For sure.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get out of here. We will be back again next week. Thanks for being here.
Let's Talk with Carl Lee is presented by attorney Frank Walker and the all-new historic Quarrier Diner. Comment on episodes, ask the crew questions, or suggest topic on our Facebook page. Search for Let's Talk with Carl Lee and remember to like the page to become part of the conversation. Subscribe by searching Let's Talk with Carl Lee on your favorite podcast service and tune in Thursday evenings at 7 or Sunday nights at 8 for Let's Talk with Carl Lee.